Hey, this is Yang Nguyen, and you're listening to the Emmy Wealth Builder podcast, where we celebrate incredible immigrant success stories, share proven strategies, and give you actionable steps to build your wealth, freedom, and a lasting legacy. Let's go get it. Most people think raising millions for real estate is only possible if you're already wealthy or well-connected. But the truth is anyone can learn to do it with the right strategy. So why does it matter? Because if you want to scale beyond just a few rentals, you can't do it alone. You need capital, you need partnerships, you need community in order to truly grow. And so I'm super excited to have RJ with us today. He is a real estate investor, a developer who has raised over 14 million, built a portfolio of over 85 units, co-found investor community with over 8,000 members. And I'm super excited to hear how he built, how he scaled, how he balanced businesses and family and life. So RJ, take it away. Introduce yourself to the audience and give the audience a little bit about what you do.
Hey, I'm a converted W-2 worker. I had an education in accounting of all things, and I did a short stint in commercial real estate accounting and really found a love for accounting, transitioned over to sales. So built up multiple skill sets over the years, met my loving wife, Nicole Valenzuela, and we decided to jump headfirst into real estate together. So it's been a long journey, a long, short journey, about 8 years. Really happy for all the experiences I've had and ready to dive in.
Wow. Okay, let's break it down a little bit. How did you go from accounting to even thinking about investing in the first place?
I actually always want to invest first, but I didn't really take the correct actions. Before I went to college, I wanted to flip homes. And because my mindset, my limiting mindset saying I don't have the skills, tools, resources, I didn't go for it. I was young. I didn't really have income, didn't know how to get the money, didn't know how to be prepared. So I said, I can't do this. I said, I'd love to, but I didn't. I went into accounting because I had good grades. I was at Northern Illinois University. We were ranked 11th in the nation for accounting. So my advisor, when I went in to choose my major, when I had a 4.0, said, no, you're not going to do management. You're not going to do sales. You're not going to do anything except for accounting because we have a top ranked accounting program. People are coming here from all over the nation to get in and they can't. So you're going to do it and you could do whatever you want afterwards. And I said, okay. And I agreed. But I always knew I was always people forward. I was a head bartender at the largest bar on campus. And I always knew that I probably wouldn't do well in a cubicle. So that's how I ended up in sales.
That is so interesting. One thing I always came back to is a lot of high school, college advisors, they meant well. But I feel like sometimes they are a little bit more, I'm not sure, sometimes it doesn't feel there's a good match between like personality and really a career choice versus just like what you just share, like smart students can do really well. So accounting it is. And then think what you just share about, bartending, which is a super outgoing social job. And then cubicle, which is like a very different mix. So very interesting. So love to hear that you're thinking about investing, but you're like, okay, great, college, accounting, let's go. Just take that step forward, right? Love it. Tell us more about that first investment that you guys decided to execute on. How do you guys find it? What do you guys decide to fund? Just a bit more about the project.
When Nicky and I first met, we had a conversation on the couch about a couple months in, and she said, if you see this relationship going somewhere, we got to think about the future. And I said, okay. And I said, I like real estate investing. And she said, good, me too. I don't want to work for a company the rest of my life. From there, she gave me a bunch of resources. I hadn't heard of Bigger Pockets, and we dove head first, all in, podcast, Bigger Pockets, Rockleaf, everybody, everything that we could get our hands on. And it really sparked that drive to buy our first multifamily. We actually bought our first multifamily within 6 months of that conversation. So we bought our first multifamily 8 months into the relationship, and we did a lot of due diligence. We were underwriting a lot of properties. We were discovering new neighborhoods that we could afford. We were understanding our price range, and it was a lot of due diligence up front, but definitely not analysis paralysis. That first property came up when we were in Wisconsin at a friend's cabin. And she said, "Look at this one." And I said, "Yes, let's do it." I think we may have even put in an offer sight unseen because it hit our price point. And it was in a neighborhood that we thought was up and coming. And we really did well with that first property.
Wow. I really want to emphasize a couple of things for the audience there. First of all, I love that you and Nikki had a conversation about that financial goal and what does it looks like outside of just W-2. And so for the audience who's listening, whether you have a significant other to talk about that too, if not, you're going to go out there, find the community, find other people. But then the second piece is that you guys are very focused on taking action. There is a time for education for sure. And you guys did that. But the nice thing about having a partner, about having someone to keep you accountable is that it's not just, let's just keep running number, let's just keep learning more. And you guys will make an offer sight unseen for your first one. So that's the power of partnership, of accountability that I really want the audience to take away as they're considering how they can grow their investment. And I really want to dig into the development side because I think that's something that, is a great wealth building strategy for a lot of people. But I think a lot of newer investors or even just experienced investors find that very challenging to switch into. So tell us a little bit maybe about the mindset shift that you guys need to make in order to transition over into the new development side. And then maybe what other resources that you guys have to consider or use in order to learn more about the new development side of real estate.
That's a great question. First, we always leverage relationships in our community. Ever since we first began, even before we were in real estate, we understood the power of social networks. It's always who you know, how you know them. And, your network's your net worth. That's overplayed and over exaggerated, but very, very true. So when we were first getting into real estate investing on that first property, we just made sure we leveraged our network. So when we were first in the rehab, I called up a boss I had when I was 18 years old, and he came out, changed 17 windows, and updated the siding for us. Called my best friend's father, brick mason for 40 years, and he replaced some of the cylinder block openings and helped rebuild a lot of the masonry wall. So the reason I'm saying that is because it's very important to understand that you have a network. Regardless of how alone you feel, you have a very powerful tool, and that's called your social circle. Your social circle, when you first begin real estate investing, is going to be comprised mainly of friends and family. People that don't understand real estate. So it's important not to take advice from everybody. How that relates and translates into us building new development is understanding who's in your network and who can be a resource. If you're risk adverse and you don't want to take on so much risk at first, think very deeply about who can you partner with, who can be there to be a resource for you. And that's it. Every single thing that we've done, from raising capital to buying our first property to building a community, has everything to do with who we know, how we know them, the relationships we've built. And that's also how we've gotten into new development. And we would have never done that. It would have taken us a lot longer to feel comfortable developing rather than finding a partner. And now we're building like 9 homes.
I love that.
From 0 to 9 because of a partnership. Whereas if it was just us, may have taken us 2 more years to get into development, and we would have only done 1 or 2 at most.
Yeah, I love that. I think that partnership is key, right? Just what Archer said, knowing people in your circle, knowing what they're good at, knowing what you're good at. I think that's how you guys form partnership. And it really reminds me of the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that is great. Let's back up a little bit because I guess one thing we haven't really touched on is why new development. Because you guys have done value add, which is buying something existing, fix it up, increase the value, and either rent it out or flip. Tell us contrast between that and new development. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? So that the audience can kind of decide, is this something that maybe a good fit for them or not?
Sure. Well, first, it's very important to understand that we are investing in looking locally in the Chicagoland market. In the Chicagoland market, there is a lot of competition. Prices have been increasing steadily, like majority of different, areas or MSAs. And we're finding that it was becoming extremely difficult to find value add properties and not get beat out, either on the price, on the speed, on whatever it was. Nicky has a 9 to 5 job. I was very ingrained in the construction aspect. And also, it's very important, like you said, to understand your skill sets. My skill set was not going out into the market canvassing for projects. So the increasing prices, along with the increasing interest rates, made a lot of the cash flows for owner-occupied or even non-owner-occupied very difficult to obtain. We're at a point in our career where, hey, we're only going to buy something if it cash flows. We're not looking at long-term equity gains, which a lot of people can and should do. But we weren't in the spot where we wanted to be paying into the mortgage. We wanted it to cash flow. So we're finding that very difficult. Where we were finding margins was new development, in particular, high-end luxury new development, because there's a lot more margins there. We were canvassing different markets. We were in Florida for a bit. We built a house down there. We were checking out Arizona, and we're looking at our networks. Who is in the area that can form partnership with us on these new developments? So we're actually building in Florida and Illinois because we had boots on the ground and people familiar with the area. We understand people aren't buying for cash flow. People are buying for primary residence. There was a lack of inventory for new assets, in particular in the areas we're building, new high-end luxury assets, because our price points are between 2 and 3 million on the ARV. And we found a feasible addressable market, one that we could also build ADUs in using the new ADU zones. And we move forward with that strategy. We are coming now on exiting our first few. We've had one successful exit, one in contract, one fell out of contract, and the remaining projects are at their final stages. So how will we end up? It sounds good, great, grand, awesome. How will we end up? Who knows? We'll see. It's a lot of risk, but it was a strategy that we believed in and we moved forward with.
Wow. RJ, explain to the audience a little bit more about the margin that you guys are looking for. So it sounds like you guys will be exiting to sell rather than hold.
Correct.
Perfect. So whether you're in California, you're in New York, you're in North Carolina, you will find that it is competitive, right? Real estate is sexy, not gonna lie. A lot of people want to get into it. So if you are getting into it and compete in the same approach, you got to find a lot of competition. So for RJ specifically, in Chicago, you guys are based local there. You know the market well. You already have the network there. So that's their strength that they play to. So that's a very important thing to notice there. The second thing is understanding where the margin may be. And RJ, I love what you said about being very specific, right? It's not just new construction. It can be anything, but you specifically say high luxury, new construction, single family, and you're probably looking in very specific neighborhoods overall in Chicago. So that focus both on the asset class in the location is very key as you grow, because I'm sure for the audience who listening, there's a lot of details that goes into this, right? Your contractor, zoning, permit, what the buyers are looking for in the finish work. And it's very hard to do that all over the country if you don't know the market well. So love what you said there, RJ, about figuring out the options and figure out where your competitive edge would be and then go all in on that. And of course, taking action. In terms of how you guys are dividing the work right now, tell us more about the team. Tell us more about what you guys do, what your partner does, and how you guys kind of find these partners to partner with for this new development.
Sure. It's important to understand that through 5 years of entrepreneurship, I built a construction company. So I built a construction company ground up, never having swung a hammer in my life. And that plays into the roles that we play on these new developments. We found our partner in one of the real estate investing communities that we lead and run. So we had a previous relationship with him. We knew and understood that he developed homes. We've seen him build homes over the past few years. Finally came the time where he approached us to get involved in new development with him. At the beginning, what it was just an opportunity to invest passively. This is one thing that a lot of new real estate investors overlook. They want control of the deal. They want to be the person who controls all the aspects. But that's not how real estate always works. And it shouldn't work that way, because sometimes you'll get in partnership with people who make the incorrect decisions. So when he approached us, he asked us to passively invest in a couple of his new developments. And I figured, hey, this is a great chance for me to invest. I have sitting capital to understand how he operates, to be a part of his projects, and see if we could partner along further. We invested in 2 projects personally, and they were going well. So when he brought up a 4th and a 5th project, we said, hey, we're short on capital personally, but we can raise capital for these projects. So that's what we did. We raised capital from private money investors. They call it OPM, call it whatever you want. An individual had liquid cash and wanted to invest in real estate, just like I had in his initial projects. So we started raising capital for 2 projects, actually. And then came the opportunity to directly partner. So you see the progression of the relationship. I first invested my personal cash. Then I came to the table. I performed when he said, hey, I need some cash to build these. We came to the table, we performed. I believe we raised about $750,000 for him. And he said, hey, these are partners that can perform, who come to the table, who do what they say. Meanwhile, we're understanding how he's building the homes where, we have full access, full reign to the homes, etc. We have the decision to buy homes together. And that's when we become 50-50 partners on the actual operating agreement. So that's where we are now. Throughout all the projects, not only were we capital, but he had also utilized some of my workers, like some of my subcontractors. We used my underground plumbing service. We used my plumber. I sent him a couple electricians. So that's where things can help. When you get spread too thin, you got to be able to leverage your resources, right? So if he wasn't reaching out to me, and if I didn't have those resources, I would be reaching out to other people. Because no matter what, once you're already involved in a project, you have to make sure those timelines run smoothly. So this was a case where he didn't have the skill sets to raise capital or bring additional capital, but we did. And he was too busy building the buildings. So we came alongside and helped partner. Along with a couple other money partners and investors we've been able to build, we've been able to move forward on quite a few projects here in Chicagoland.
First of all, I love how you broke down that process, because for the investors who have invested with you, you first test this model with your own capital, right? You vet the team, you vet the contractor, you vet the deal. So then you start first with your capital, and then you then essentially create an opportunity for other people to now invest along, right? So that other people who may have capital want to invest but don't have the time, don't know the deal, don't know how to look at the deal, they then essentially can invest with you in these type of project completely passively and still grow their wealth along with yours. I really want to ask about how you even start building a whole construction team without ever swinging hammers, because first of all, contractor is someone a lot of investors hold near and dear to their heart because, it's always that limiting factor. Good contractors are worth their weight in gold. So tell us a little bit more about how you build that team.
I built the team out of necessity because the first building that we bought was extremely value add. We went into the contract a little bit green. So by the time we purchased the building, if I had my experience now, I might have passed up on that deal, but it would have been a big mistake because a lot of the reasons that deal is working out so well is because the appreciation in that actual neighborhood. But if you took what the neighborhood for what it was at the time, it might not have been that great of a deal. I had always been mechanically inclined. And as I had previously said, my best friend's father was a blue collar worker. My best friend's a blue collar worker. So I grew up around blue collar people and understood them. When I started accepting bids on our building, I realized the difficulty in hiring contractors. So many personalities, so many fast talking salesmen, so many fly by night companies, people not performing, over promising, under delivering, and it was extremely difficult. The people that really significantly helped us are people I had relationships with for 15 plus years. Through that, I thought, hey, maybe I should, look into this a little bit deeper. But only after somebody who had been working for me left their current boss. And he had worked for specifically an investor. So he was out of work and he had done some work for me and we got along great. And then he said, do you have any work for me? And I said, what happened? He said, I don't have a job anymore. I said, well, I could see if I could find you work. And I found him work. And then that's when I was like, should I start a business around this? I need to keep him around. I don't have enough projects to keep him busy of my own. And he's somebody reliable I want to keep in my pocket. So I told him, hey, if I start a business, will you work for me? And he said, yes. So I said, I don't know how long I can keep you busy for, but I'll do my best. And we're going on 6 years of running a construction company, invoicing well over $5 million. And it's been a blessing and extremely difficult and some of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. So the only reason I'm saying that is because don't listen to these podcasts and think that I didn't have trials and tribulations. Building a construction company was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tricky situations, high liability with clients. But I knew one thing. I knew how to talk to people, knew how to understand people. And being in sales, I knew that I always had to deliver on a promise and I had to live up to my reputation of who I was. And that is why I've been so successful, because I really care about the results and the outcome. I don't just walk away when it gets tough.
Wow, RJ, you have so many good points there, right? It's a long game. Deliver on what you say you would do is one of the most important things that we can do in this business. And I just really want to emphasize that you consistently leverage two things, right? Community and problem solving. And that's essentially how you kept growing. So I really want the audience to take that away, right? Really leverage your community and just look at problems as opportunities for you to keep growing. So those are really important keys that you brought up. And I know you've grown a communities of 8,000 investors overall. First of all, how did that start? And if there are people out there who are considering building communities of their own, what are some advice you have for people as they're growing their community?
Sure. So we run the Chicago Multifamily Club that was organically built in 2017. The one thing that I could say I am most proud of is we have 8,000 members. And sure, there's other communities out there that have way more people. This has 0 spammers in it. I specifically curated the list of people that are participating in the community, and I do not let spammers in. They get one chance. You throw up an ad, you're gone. You go against the rules, you're gone. So I've been part of many different real estate communities, and all they have in there is spammers. And it's like, cool, you got 40,000 members, but half of them are ads, and half of them are people from India that are working for people. And, the other ones put up explicit posts that have nothing to do with real estate. So I really cracked down on that after I went to the Traffic and Conversion Summit with Ryan Dice, because I was part of the community building workshop. And they said this: if you don't run your community will run you. And I looked at my community and I realized it's full of people I don't even want to talk to. Like, are people even getting value here? So I changed the structure of the community and the way that we chat and communicate with each other. I siloed conversations and I really put up a no spam policy. Even if you're a real person and like, I know you're trying to do good, but I consistently send you a message, do not post this here, you're gone. I don't have time to deal with people that can't listen to simple instructions. I have no proof of this, but I really want to say I have one of the most active communities for the Chicagoland area that gets the most volume of transactions done through either construction, wholesaling, or even broker transactions and attorney transactions in Illinois.
Wow.
And you could go see it. And I'll open up my Facebook. I'll have 10 posts all from that community and all real questions from real people and real answers from real professionals.
I love that. I think that's a kind of like a wake-up call, right? When you really come from like, what result do you want to deliver to your members? And that then kind of guide how you run the community. So I really love that. And that quality is amazing. And that's why we all want the community sense, right? We want people that been there, to your point, share that experience, do transaction together, growing to trust each other. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
I feel like I have so many questions on the community that I'm going to ask you offline.
Sure.
But you're doing development, you capital raising, you have construction business, you build a community, have a growing family. Tell us more about how you're balancing multiple businesses and a growing family. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the truth, because I hate fluffy podcasts. It's hard. It's difficult. And I don't know how I do it. I still, feel like I'm doing it incorrectly all the time. One of the biggest things that help is that I have a spouse and a partner that's really there with me every step of the way. So if she sees me being inefficient with my time, she'll tell me. It's not a business partner relationship. It's also a husband-wife relationship. So she doesn't stop short. But what that does is it consistently makes me better. So it is extremely difficult. And I think one of the ways that we've been able to do it successfully is we divide and conquer. I am responsible for hosting all the in-person meetups once a month, every single month of the year. So I host those. You can see me on the internet talking in front of that all the time. I am the one that does majority of the podcasts. I've been on over 20 podcasts. I do keynote speaking. She is not that well experienced in that. So I take a hold of that. That is one of our strengths, right? She's very well organized on the back end. She can organize projects, our days, our scheduling. She runs the household. I'm responsible for taking my son to daycare, picking him up from daycare. So everything's really divide and conquer. And we sort of fall into what works best with our skill sets, but also what works best with our time. Now, one of the biggest things as an entrepreneur before we had kids is we did not say no to anything at the beginning. When we're learning, we did not want to say no to anything, whether it was networking events, coffees, dinners, lunches, communicating with people, going on outings, meeting with individuals. But what that was really curating our sphere of influence. When you're a new investor, you have to curate your sphere of influence. Don't allow anybody that is not successful in where you want to go to bleed into your thoughts. And it happens all the time with family and friends. One of the biggest transitions you will ever make if you are diligent about becoming a successful entrepreneur is the point where you understand that you can love your friends, but they are not going where you are going. And you can no longer try to get them to go with you because all they will do is hold you back. Like the people that I hang out with now are all real estate, all entrepreneurs, all have growth mindset. And it doesn't mean I don't love those guys from high school, elementary, from college. I just know I can't call them when I'm looking to raise capital, talk to them about a business idea. That's who I surround myself with now. And it's a real difficult transition when you are new and you don't understand that's what's happening. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to be successful, that transition has to happen.
Wow, so many good points, RJ. What I really hear is that you really focus on what you're good at. Because can you imagine if you already have running a million things and you have like this task in front of you, like, oh, I really don't want to do this. I'm not really good at it. And you're shuffling through. And it takes so much longer versus somebody whose that is their core genius and they can just take it and do it like that. So that's a really important thing for people to take away, right? You can do a lot of different things, but you cannot do everything. Love what you said about delegate as well, in terms of like creating partnership and staying in each other's lane and really be able to support one another that way. And what I really hear, RJ, is that accountability, that honesty is really important. Whether you have someone close to you in your life, your partner, your significant other, if not, find someone, right? It may not be your friends from childhood. It may not be that person, but you're going to find someone in the community that really lovingly call you out when you say you want to do something, but really BSing about it. So that's really important. Tell us more about what your goals are in terms of wealth building. You have your new construction. I'm guessing that give you the chunk of cash, the active income, the appreciation. I know you mentioned like cannabis business, your SaaS sales. Tell us more about how you kind of stack these things in order to build wealth more holistically.
So I grew up with extreme scarcity mindset, right? Finances were always the difficult situation at the house. My parents overspent, got us in bad situations. So at the beginning, when I was looking to invest in real estate, it's a big shiny object. Everybody wants to know how many doors do you own, what's your net worth, how much money do you have, etc. And I have to admit, I was of that mindset too. I want to own a lot of properties. I want to be worth millions of dollars, etc. But one thing changed that perspective for us. In 2023, I believe it was 23 or maybe 22, Nicky and I had the choice and wanted to travel the country. And we were faced with this dilemma that we wanted to travel the country, but we had 2 dogs and a 1.5-year-old son. And we said, well, we can't live overseas, which Nicky originally wanted to do. So I brought up the idea of buying a camper and traveling across the country and driving across the country with the family. It's really extremely difficult situation, but we found a solution to that problem. And within 6 months, we were on the road traveling the country. During that time, I took a step back from the construction, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a heavy sense of relief because the busyness of the day leaving Chicagoland was really a big lift off my shoulders, and I didn't really realize it. But what that camping trip taught us, so we were in the camper on and off for 2 years, is that money isn't everything. That being close to family and having the time freedom and flexibility is what's most important to us. So we transitioned from trying to stack wealth, build wealth, be extremely busy all the time to, hey, what can we do to ensure our future is financially set? We don't have to work so hard and we could stay together as a family. So why do we do these things? Originally, we started because we want to build wealth. We had the egos. We want to be those people. We want to do all these things. We want to travel. And it was all about money, but hopefully professionals that are very good at what they do will eventually take a step back and realize whether it's early in your career or late in your career, that really mental health and spending that quality of family time together is most important. So are we building 9 single family homes that could net us $1 million on our partnership this year? Sure, we are. And those are extreme risks. You know, we could even end up in the negatives. But we're doing it because we love to do it, because it gives us time freedom, and because the risks versus the reward outweigh the risks. When it comes to everything, you just have to be smart and diligent, stay within your zone of risk, We're coming off very difficult situations now, and they're all learning experiences. I think you have to really weigh into what part of your life you're in. The reason it switched drastically for us is because, as we said, I'm 42. We had our first child. And when you have responsibilities, things change. If I was in my 20s, I could chase wealth. I could chase it. I'd do that all day, every day until I had a family and other responsibilities. So it's not that you can't do it at any phase. It's that you have to be hyper aware of your situation and also have the patience to know, right? Like now we have the patience to know we have a family and we have other responsibilities. We can still do what we're doing, but we have to have the patience to know that it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take us a little bit longer. We have other things to factor into these decisions, and we can't be as risky as if we were in our 20s with no responsibilities.
I love that phrase, patience to know. And I love what you said there also about just knowing what season you're at. And really, I think kind of that, like giving yourself permission to really appreciate where you're at, what you worked so hard to get to. But I think sometimes that permission, because we're like, okay, we gotta go, versus like, this is where we are. I definitely want to switch to that mystery question from our previous guest. And your mystery question is, what is the best real estate advice you have gotten from a seasoned investor?
I would have to say it's being extremely diligent on who you choose as a partner. It's one thing to have things legally written down. It's another thing to actually pursue that contract in court. A lot of seasoned real estate investors, myself included, will eventually come to a point where contracts just aren't enough, and you will truly find how much those contracts are worth once you start canvassing for an attorney to represent you. I've been in situations where attorneys don't even want to represent me because it doesn't make sense for them. It's not enough money for them.
Yeah.
So, hey, guess what? You're out $50,000, $20,000, $100,000. Sorry. So be extremely diligent in the partners you choose and who you trust.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tell us about a cause, a charity that you're supportive of. Would love to share that with our audience to donate on your behalf. Just to thank you for sharing so much value with us today.
Yeah, so I was actually diagnosed with Wilson's disease. It's a lifelong, life-threatening disease. I'm actually statistically not supposed to be here. And I'm celebrating a win because I got picked up to be a Wilson's disease medication ambassador. So they're going to pay me to travel the country and speak on behalf of Wilson's disease patients. So Wilson's disease, it's an extremely rare genetic disease. It's your body's inability to process copper. And nobody knows what it is because it's extremely rare, but there's a lot of people out there affected by it. And most of the time they don't even realize until they're on their deathbed. So I would say donate to a Wilson's disease charity.
Thank you so much for sharing that, RJ. And tell us more how the audience can find you, follow your journey, and get to know what you're up to.
Follow me on the socials, please. RJ DeLeon on Facebook, RJ the Investor on Instagram. One thing that you were saying earlier is you can't do everything. I tried to be an Instagram guy and tried to do the media thing. Man, it is such hard work to be able to diligently create videos, and wow. So if somebody out there wants help me with social media in the Chicagoland area, reach out to me. So you can find me again, RJ DeLeon on Facebook and RJ the Investor on Instagram and other socials.
Awesome. We'll link all that in the show note. Thank you so much for being here today, RJ. It's been a blast chatting with you, and I can't wait to have you back and follow your journey. See you next time. Bye.
Let's go. See ya.